So what are some of your alternatives if you're currently using spreadsheets? Obviously, one of them is to manually do those calculations. One organization approached us and said, we have 250 salespeople and we're doing the calculations manually, and it takes us 6 people on a quarterly basis for almost a week to get all the calculations done, audited, and the payouts identified. A lot of organizations have taken that manual process and then put it into an Access database where in fact they can do the calculations, but as I said before, you get very little in the way of reporting back to the salespeople so that they understand where their performance is relative to target expectations. Some organizations that have spent money to buy a human resource management system like a PeopleSoft or an SAP feel that they can use those types of systems for sales compensation. Typically, those are really more storage oriented. They will keep access to information around how much incentive compensation, but typically they do not do the tracking or calculating of sales performance or the calculations on an ongoing basis for payout and reports to payroll. Proprietary systems. Some organizations have developed their own in-house system. The difficulty with this is obviously looking at, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it, is looking at the upkeep and the way in which you manage that system given the changing environment. But we'll talk a bit more about that in a couple of minutes. On-premise commercial software. There are applications that you can in fact load within your firewall that can do the processing of your information and as well as that reporting. One of the difficulties with on-premise applications is, first of all, the upfront significant costs around implementation as well as purchasing the software. In addition to that, you typically also pay about a 15% maintenance fee on an annual basis, probably close to what you would pay if you used a hosted model. Using the on-premise commercial software also requires that you have the technical resources available in-house to manage that software, because once you bought it, you own it. Software as a service. When we ended up developing our application, we had looked at a variety of scenarios, and having worked as consultants with clients over 20 years, some things became very clear in terms of selecting the right model for a software application. We looked at on-premise, we looked at a variety of database type applications as well as desktop applications, and we settled on the SaaS model because it gave the maximum amount of flexibility to the sales organization to make changes and be able to make those changes on their own without the need of technical support. Some organizations, I can give you an example of one that has about 175 salespeople with an on-premise application, and when they made changes to the plan design, their programming costs were in excess of $100,000 to make the change. So SaaS as a model gives you a lot of flexibility. It's relatively easy to bring up an organization onto a SaaS model with limited upfront configuration costs depending upon the size and complexity of the sales organization.